Testing. Okay, welcome everyone. Tonight is our people competition, and it is a print competition, and you know what that means. It means I have to occupy 30 minutes before the judges. So we have something interesting for you tonight, but first, our announcements. Upcoming Friday night meetings, January 13th, Zoom presentation. The clubhouse will be open. Ted and Noon, and I said this is not an act. That's a husband-wife team. They're doing Stone and Candle. Actually, if you go to their website, which is listed on our calendar page, they are very, very interesting. They photograph old archaeological artifacts, and they do it from a man and a woman point of view. It's very hard to explain, but the images are beautiful. Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Recommend that. Tonight is our people competition, and it is a print competition, and you know what that means. It means I have to occupy 30 minutes before the judges. So we have something interesting for you tonight, but first, our announcements. Upcoming Friday night meetings, January 13th. The announcements that I just gave. Zoom presentation. The clubhouse will be open. Ted and Noon, and I said this is not an act. What does that mean? That's Rich, you're my video guy. Team. An audio guy. Doing Stone and Candle. It means let's see. I don't know. Let's on our calendar page. They are very, very interesting. Well. They photograph old archaeological artifacts. I told you I had to fill 30 minutes. Nature competition, January 20th. It's very hard to explain, a projection but the images competition. Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Recommend that. Tonight is our people competition, and it is a print competition, and you know what that means. It means I have to occupy 30 minutes before the judges. So we have something interesting for you tonight, but first, our announcements. Upcoming Friday. Okay. January 27th. Zoom presentation, clubhouse open. Lewis Katz, Myth of Style. February 3rd will be a black and white competition. Print. And you know what that means. We need someone, a speaker. If you have 30 minutes, or if you could sing or something to occupy this. Otherwise, you're stuck with me. I'll pull out something as well. So if you have 30 minutes, you think you'd like to present something or whatnot before our February 3rd black and white print competition, just get in touch with me. Upcoming field trips, Templar Motors Factory Display, February 18th, is sold out. We are going to try to really get many more field trips in. Unfortunately, this one, like our Goodyear blimp one, was restricted to number of people because of a closed space. So we were only able to have 25 people in. But we are going to have more field trips coming up. SIG meeting. Our next SIG meeting, February 2nd, the first Thursday of February. Dave Bush is going to be talking everything about filters. When to use filters, what type of filters to use, how to use them as well. And he is a font of knowledge, and it should be a very interesting night. Winter classes still enrolling. Intro to Photoshop photo editing starts tomorrow. Still time to enroll. Intermediate Photoshop starts January 16th. Both enrollments are still open. The Rob Eric equipment giveaway. Our table has shrunk. I managed to give away 1,000 CDs and things too. So we just have those few things on there. If there's anything you like, take it. The cost is free. The price is free. New badges have arrived. Also, see me if you still need a badge. I have a sign-up list. People who've ordered their badges can be picked up on the whiteboard up front on the right side. Cabin Fever Party, January 21st. RSVP to info@clevelandphoto.org. Our website, our main email if you are coming, or if you just want to show up. That's fine too. We'll have lots of food, robber's auction, lots of fun, and this is our first time back after COVID. So I highly recommend that. It'll be here in the clubhouse. And as always, this and all of our Open Friday meetings are on our YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel, which is you can link to from the homepage of our website. And when you get to the YouTube channel, click on Live. It's counterintuitive, but live is all of our broadcasts and previous broadcasts. So now let me get us over to the slide presentation. Okay, tonight is a presentation. Let me turn this light off and flip this monitor back around. I put together some slides on photographing the Holy Land. Now, I've been there several times, and I put these together because I have the opportunity of going back again to photograph it in a few months. Photographically, it is extremely interesting. It is easy to get to, easy to travel around, and we're going to break it down into three areas tonight: geographic, religious, and political. When you go out to photograph, it's interesting. A lot of these things will be overlapping, and you kind of have to know your material before you go. But it's tremendously interesting in terms of photographic opportunities, no matter what your interest. So let's go on. The Holy Land is basically all this area we'll get into more in the Mideast. Geography. Now here we are. Israel sits right in the middle, bounded by Egypt down below, at one time a hostile nation. Now they are basically neutral. Jordan to the west, at one time hostile border. Now it is pretty much neutral. Syria to the northeast, which is a current hostile border. And Lebanon to the north, which is a current hostile border. So it is a tiny area that sits nestled in the middle there as well. In terms of geography, it's a tiny, tiny country. But the geography is, you'll see a bit of everything. Here, looking from the port of Jaffa on Tel Aviv, you have the Mediterranean there. It's sweeping beaches. And as you go around, Jaffa used to be an old port. Tel Aviv, the main city, is up here. Tons of beaches, tons of people always on the beach as well. A very cosmopolitan city. But you could see it looks like Miami almost. As you go up the coast, there's a lot of coastline. You'll see a lot of old fishing villages. This is up in Caesarea, an old Roman town just north of Tel Aviv. A lot of opportunities. Again, nothing looks modern here. As you go up a little far north, again, the Mediterranean. This is Haifa, which is a port and where the Israeli Navy is based. And as it's Lebanon starts somewhere just up there as well. Then you get into areas from the coast to the Dead Sea. Now the Dead Sea is, people spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the special, in the mall. You go to the South Park Mall, there are places you can go get Dead Sea mud and Dead Sea. Look, the mud is all over there. It's free. You could smear it on, and that's what people do. They smear it on, you go out, you walk in it. But what the Dead Sea is best known for, and photographic things too, is you can literally almost walk on water. If you can't float at all, it's an unusual feeling because you go out and you just lay on the water, and people bring magazines and just sit and will just lay there. Now the reason this happens is the Dead Sea, all lakes are fed, the reason all lakes are freshwater, whatnot, is because usually they are fed water by tributaries and streams, and they lose water by evaporation. But that's always in balance, and that's why a lake looks the same. That's why out at Lake Mead you're having the problem, and the Great Salt Lake is evaporation is faster than the water's coming in. So you have normal evaporation down in the Dead Sea, but the Jordan River is drying up, so it's not filling up. So you're left with this extremely highly saline water. It is very healthy because no bacteria, you get your cut or something in there as well, nothing is going to grow in that. You see along the sides and out, just salt crystals are everywhere as the water recedes. Things that look like you're on another planet. Again, you go from the Haifa and Tel Aviv and the shores to these moonscapes almost, where again the sea used to be here. This is all just dried salt deposits and whatnot that just look like a moonscape. And the lake is drying. The Dead Sea, it is the lowest point on Earth, and it is getting smaller and smaller, and they are very much concerned about that. And there's actually a project underway called the Dead to Red, is they are going to build a pipeline from the Red Sea into the Dead Sea, and the reason they could do that is because this being the lowest point on Earth, you don't need pumping stations. All they do is just lay a straight pipe from the Red Sea down to the Dead Sea, open it up, and the water will flow in. So they are actually, that is under construction. You could be up in Tiberias and have palm trees all around you in 80 degrees and be an easy view of Mount Hermon and the ski slopes that are up on the north, on the border with Lebanon. So over very short periods, I'm under a palm tree here in the Golan Heights, and I am looking at the snow-covered mountains. So there you'll find, and you could get snow scenes up there and everything. So geographically, very, very diverse. Religion. Again, we're back here. Religion is kind of a key to a lot of the problems in the Holy Land, because the Holy Land is the source of three of our great religions. You have Judaism, Christianity, and the Muslim religion. Up there, that is the Sea of Galilee, to give you a perspective. So if this is all Israel here, the Sea of Galilee is there up in the north. So here is the Sea of Galilee. Now, to orient yourself, that's the sea. The Jordan River comes from the top and fills it up. And then the Jordan River goes down from the sea all the way down to the Dead Sea there as well. And this is the source of most of the fresh water in the Middle East. That is where Jesus gave his Sermon on the Mount. That is the northern part of the Galilee, up at Capernaum, right up there. So we have our Sea of Galilee, the Sermon on the Mount, all occurring up there. In the middle is Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is an extremely interesting city from a religion point of view. Now, in Jerusalem, which is a modern city, but you have the old city. And the old city has multiple gates around. It is a very, very tightly enclosed city, very narrow corridors as well. It's divided up into a Christian section, Armenian, a Muslim section, and these are all coinciding right next to each other. Again, very, very crowded. But here are the key things. Right there, that red dot, that's the Western Wall. Now, it's called the Western Wall because the first and second temple of Solomon, which is the holiest site in Judaism, was right over here. And it was destroyed way back when, I think about 70 AD, and the only thing left standing is the Western Wall. If this was the temple, is the western wall of the temple, and that's why it's called the Western Wall. It is the holiest site in Judaism, and it's right there. Now, literally 150 yards away is the Dome of the Rock, the third holiest site in the Muslim religion, where Muhammad is said to have ascended to the heavens as well. And you could see there's only 150 yards separating that, and in times of heightened tension, it is really a conflict. Then, 200 to 300 yards in back of you is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where Christ was crucified. Again, extremely holy site for the Christian religion. You have these extremely holy and powerful sites all within several hundred yards. And you're aware of that when you're there as well. You could just stand there and look and see them both as you just turn around. And this is, again, a very, very powerful area, photographically extremely interesting. The Western Wall, you'll see many Jews praying there. They put notes into the wall. God supposedly takes those notes. Those notes are clean. The wall is maintained by a set of Orthodox rabbis who clean out the notes every night. And again, photographically, that it is extremely interesting. The soldiers, before going into battle, will all pray at the wall. So no matter when you go or you're at the Western Wall, there is tremendous opportunities of all kinds of shots. And without moving, you just look over the edge, and this is the Dome of the Rock. This is where, this actually encloses the rock that Muhammad ascended from. This is solid gold. That is not gold colored, that is not bronze. It is solid gold, actually, from the previous king of Jordan donated that. But again, you're able to view this and take this picture standing at the Western Wall. That's how close these sites are. And then the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is really, it's a very, very interesting place, because other than the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, there's more or just as much conflict here inside the church as well, and occasionally riots will break out, because this is such a holy site that all the different sects, or a lot of different sects of Christianity, claim it. The Coptic Christians, the Armenian Christians, the Somali Christians, and whatnot. And so the church has been divided up. And basically, like the Armenians have the top floor or something, someone else has this and whatnot, and everyone has to stay in their area. When they don't, problems erupt. And back in around the time of the Crusades, I think it was back around 1200 or 1100 too, there was so much fighting. And who opens the door? Who has the key? Who are you going to give the key to open the doors to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Well, they put multiple locks. It's like launching a nuclear bomb. You both have to have, I think the two biggest sects, the Christian sects, each have a key, and they both have to put their key in simultaneously and turn them in order to open the door. And you can see these are well used as well. So this is the outer door to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as well, with the multiple keys. So the history is just tremendous. These are very powerful sites. There's a lot of opportunity for photographs of not only the sites, but the people viewing the sites as well. All again within these several hundred yards. There is the Tower of David, which most people think is something religious. That is a landmark in the old city, but it's actually an old mosque, as you can see from the top. You will see everyone walking around the city, the old city. Again, because there's the Muslim, the Armenian, there's just everything. You'll see the Orthodox walking by. You'll see a new structure like a hotel with the old several hundred-year mosque towers there. You will see on the 12 stations of the cross during Easter, carrying a cross through Jerusalem. And again, recreating the 12 stations of the cross. Again, very powerful. People come from all over the world. And again, photographically, very interesting. You have to be on your toes all the time because there's always a photographic opportunity. Some of the Coptic Christians, again, all within the old city. It's just a mix of, around every corner, there'll be another religion. You just, and again, this is all within the old city, some old mosques. Religion also, this is very interesting. I lived there for a while to actually go and photograph. I lived in Tiberias and went up through the Golan Heights to photograph and just was walking up through the Galilee. And what's very interesting is this is the River Jordan as it enters. To my left here, about a half mile up, is the Sea of Galilee. And as you can see, this isn't like a tourist thing. This is the plains of Galilee, and this is just a little stream. It's very tiny. And if it's summertime, it's almost dried up. But that is the River Jordan, and you could just go down and walk, and you're sometimes just amazed what it is, but that's actually it. This is where Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount. I'm standing on that spot. This is the Sea of Galilee to the south of me. Tiberias would be over here. You'll see a lot of recreations. Tourists come. There are people who recreate the Sermon on the Mount, people in costume, people praying. It's a very powerful thing as well, and also just interesting knowing the religious significance of these areas, because a lot of it looks the same as it probably did 1,000 years ago. There is not a lot of big building here and whatnot. This is the River Jordan as it leaves the Sea of Galilee to the south. And you could see it's much bigger because it's coming right out of the Sea of Galilee. This has been used in wars many times. Water is key in the Mideast. And so basically the tributaries to the Jordan River, what we saw up here, a little bit up the road here is Syria and Lebanon. And what they would do is dam up the tributaries. And what happens when you dam them up, this flow goes to very little, and the Sea of Galilee starts to go down, which is where everyone's water comes from. So again, here is the river River Jordan as it comes out of the Sea of Galilee, and then as it heads south towards the Dead Sea, it becomes smaller and smaller to almost a trickle, which is why the Dead Sea is drying up. In terms of religion as well, you have remembrance to the Holocaust. This is the Holocaust Museum. You'll have some very powerful things there to photograph. This is the monument to the children who died in the Holocaust, and it's just a bunch of just stone pillars that are supposed to represent the children. But what's very interesting in the Holocaust Museum is you go in, and the Holocaust Museum is set up so it's in chronologic order. And you're funneled through a hall, and you see the things from the start of the war, the middle, whatnot. You get to the end, around 1945 or 46, and you think you're at the end, and you think you're seeing a window, but it's not. What this is, actually, you come to a point where it's just this open area here, too. And this is actually the final exhibit, because the last exhibit in the Holocaust Museum is supposed to be the land of Israel, where they all were settling. So basically, you were looking out onto the last exhibit then of the museum. So again, a very powerful area. A little bit off to the side from the old city is the Mount of Olives, one of the oldest cemeteries in the world. It's still an active cemetery. It's 3,000 years old. And at the base of the Mount of Olives is the Garden of Gethsemane. As well, where Jesus prayed before being taken away. These olive trees. The question comes up, were these around when Jesus was sitting there? Probably so. Olive trees, which are very abundant in the Mideast, can go up to 4,000 years old, 3,000 to 4,000 years old. This one here, the oldest one in the garden, has been carbon dated to the time of the Crusades of around 1100. However, because it's so old, the middle part of this, and you know as tree rings go out, you count the rings and whatnot, but the middle part of this has rotted away so that the inner foot of it is gone, which is the earliest part. So they were not able to carbon date it. So the carbon dating is from the closest they could get before the rot. So that was 1100, but there was a whole bunch of tree that's no longer there in the middle, which very easily could have gone back another 1,000 years. So that answer is still undetermined, but it's absolutely likely that some of these trees were there. Again, very powerful areas when you go there. Going across, again, I told you everything mixes up, political, religious, and whatnot. Go across to to Bethlehem to view where Christ was born. Very interesting because the political thing comes up here because when you cross over to the Bethlehem, which is in the occupied territories, your tour guides can't come with you. You have to pick up a tour guide from a Palestinian tour guide as well, and a Palestinian driver. Everything switches over. But you go, and it is amazing because the temple in Bethlehem, or the church there of the Nativity, is not a big thing. It is tiny. And tourists, you go down a tiny little thing. I mean, you're all crowded together to get to a tiny little opening down below where the plaque is at the actual spot where Jesus was born, where the manger was. And you could see it's well worn down by everyone, worshipers touching it and whatnot, and just wanting to touch the areas. I think this star was actually put in the 1700s or so, too. But yes, it's in a little tiny area, and that's where everyone will file down to. Politics. Politics is also very interesting in the Holy Land, and it plays into the religious part as well and geographic part. Here is Israel proper, you could see in brown. The occupied territory is here, the West Bank, which was part of Jordan. Jordan went out like this. In the 67 war, Israel took this. The Gaza Strip is over here, which is, again, occupied. Now, with this, distances. I told you it's small. It's hard to see on the map here. But Israel's the size of New Jersey. That's it. It is tiny. Gaza, which is a hostile area to Tel Aviv, is 38 miles, well within the easy reach of even the crudest rockets. The narrowest width of Israel is 9 miles, and the width of the Sea of Galilee, which again, Syria was on one side, Tiberias was on the other, is only 5 miles, much smaller than Lake Erie. What this means is, where there's active fighting going on in Gaza, to the capital here in Tel Aviv, or closer in Jerusalem, is only 38 miles, and rockets are occasionally launched there. When you're up driving here, I pulled off the side of the road here, and you can easily see the sea here and the West Bank over there. That's only 9 miles across, and it's only 5 miles across there. So when this was all Syrian territory there, it was easy to get in a speedboat and just come right across there as well. Now, what you could see in terms of the political area is this is the West Bank. So we have Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. The West Bank is the Palestinian area. These are the occupied territories here. Gaza and the West Bank is controlled by the Palestinians, the Fatah movement. Gaza is controlled by Hamas, which is at odds with the leaders in the West Bank, but these are both occupied areas. That's controlled by Hamas. When you hear about the two-state solution, it's all well and good, and everyone wants a two-state solution. But you see one interesting area here that people don't talk about a lot. These aren't connected. And so basically, it's always talked about, well, okay, if we have two states here, West Bank is easy, but then what are you going to do? You're going to have a protected road or what? It's not figured out yet, but it shows you just the complexities when it gets to that stage of how you're ever going to resolve this. Up in the area of the Sea of Galilee in the north, this is the area of the Golan Heights. So this used to be Syria, and now it's occupied. Syria now has been pushed back to there. Lebanon is right to the north. And you'll notice the two towns of Kiryat Shemona and Metula, they are about 200 yards from the border. During times of hostilities, it's not even rockets, it's mortar fire are constantly landing in those cities. The plains of Galilee in northern Israel are up here. This is where Jesus gave the Sermon on the Mount. Jordan is right up nestled over there. So you can see, again, this is an area just of big conflict. But the Golan Heights is very interesting. You can go there. There is a road that goes right up through. And I've driven it many times. It's not that you're going to get fired upon or whatnot, too. There people live up there. There's wine country up there. There's nature preserves up there. And there's a lot. Just people stay away from it because they're worried about what they think it is. But it's really a beautiful area and, and fairly safe to do. Again, this shows you inside the Jaffa Gate that Israel is just, the old city is a mix of all kinds of people. What's interesting up in the Golan Heights is part of the building code in the Golan Heights is every structure there has to have a bomb-proof area for terrorist attacks in the basement. It's just part of a routine building code, and people don't think anything about it. I'm inside behind the blast door, and you can see all of the fuses and electrical things are on the inside, so they can't be gotten to. Windows, escape windows or whatnot, all are mandated to have ladders so you could climb out and whatnot too. People don't, to me, whereas I'm gaping about this too, people don't even think about it. It's just part of, that's the way life is as well, and they go on. This is the Sea of Galilee here, and I put this to show you how at one time difficult it was. I am standing at a mortar emplacement. Before the Six-Day War, this was Israeli territory here. This was a farm. It still is a farm. This was Syrian territory where I'm standing, and mortars were just lobbed down onto the farms. The tractors all are self-enclosed with steel and whatnot too, so if the mortars hitting around them, they still be able to plow and whatnot, and they went on. And you can see there's nothing much you could do from down there because you're up here on a hilltop as well. So that was one of the reasons for the war back then. Again, this is all quieted down now. Before the Syrian civil war, Syria was in negotiations to really, Israel wanted to give this back and really had no problems. They were negotiating over that. Here's another big political problem. We kid here about building the wall. They built the wall after the Second Intifada in Jerusalem to keep terrorists out. The wall is, here it is. This is between Jerusalem and the Bethlehem, between the occupied territories. Palestinians have to pass through this wall. Cars and trucks, everything has to pass through the wall. This is the Israeli side. Here's the Palestinian side. And you could see, this is just what it looks like. This is a big problem. It separates people. Culture, it's a very, very big problem. And you talk to Israelis there, and they'll say, well, but it's a practical thing and whatnot, if we could have more peace. But it is a big obstacle to peace as well. And not getting into any of the politics, you talk to a lot of Palestinians, you spend time in the Palestinian territories, and you could really see that this is just it's a dehumanizing type of system. But again, no easy solutions there. You'll have a lot of Israelis are Muslim and Arab. The Bedouins are part of the tribe that are that live in Israel. These were some of the Bedouin women. This is the Western Wall over here. You'll see everyone is usually armed. Everyone's in the military. If you have kids, it's not unusual to hire someone to take them to school. They got a backpack on, and they just take them to school like that. It becomes, in a way, since everyone's in the military and everyone's carrying assault rifles, after a while, you don't even think about it. It just becomes part of the background as well. This is just standing in the Golan Heights looking at sunset over the Sea of Galilee. Up in the Golan Heights as well, you'll see remnants from the old war. This is all 50 caliber machine gun and Syrian emplacements there before the war. That cow had no bullet holes in it, and it's just over there too. But this is just all grazing area now. But again, photographically, very interesting. As you drive around, here's the main road here, and you'll just see old bombed out mosques. Still, again, many years afterwards, no one has rebuilt. You'll see a lot of the tanks from the Six-Day War up in the Golan are just abandoned and all over. They were never cleaned up. They're just sitting there, just the side of the roads and whatnot, old Soviet-era tanks, just there. You'll see interesting things. This is Syria back here. I'm along, this is a UN encampment. I'm right up against the border here as well. And this town here, Kenitra. Kenitra was very interesting because back in the 67 war, this was a heavily defended town. The main road is right over here, and the Syrian army was all lodged up, did not want this town to fall. The road to Damascus, Damascus is right at the foot of that mountain here, between those two. So the Syrians were guarding the road to Damascus and the road to Kenitra here as well. Syria announced that this town had fallen when it hadn't. They prematurely announced. When the soldiers, the Syrian soldiers, heard that, they said, if the town has fallen or it's been abandoned or whatnot, no sense guarding that. And the Syrians all left to reinforce the road to Damascus, which left this totally undefended, and Israel came and took the town without anyone defending it at all. Unfortunately, this town is in the demilitarized zone now and has not been repopulated yet. The Golan Heights is filled with mines as well. It is one thing to remember when it says don't get off the road, don't get off the road, as well as I pulled off the road in my little car and found that out as well. But again, places are marked as well. So as long as you follow the signs, you're okay. And a final picture, this is up in a little town in the northern part of the Golan Heights. This is the Syrian border here. This is Syria. And this town is populated by the Druze. And the Druze are very interesting people. They farm up there. They do apple farming. They have special arrangements with the Syrians and Israelis to go back and forth across the border to trade their apples. But you talk with them, and we had several meals with some of them. And we said, what do you think of the Israelis? Oh, we love the Israelis. What do you think of the Syrians? We love the Syrians. They said basically is, whichever flag is flying, we love it. So, they live their philosophy is, we just want to live our life. All that other stuff, and they have, and they for hundreds and hundreds and maybe 1,000 years, that's what they've been doing too, and they're very nice. But what's interesting too is they have what's called the Hollering Hill, that's back. I think it's just over the left here too, is because they all have relatives on the Syrian side, and with a lack of communication, because there's no cell phone service back and forth, there's no mail, there's no this and whatnot. On days, they will yell back and forth with relatives. Relatives will gather on one side, and they'll gather on this side and yell back and forth to communicate as well. So it's when you travel through these towns and talk with the people, you'll just get a very, very interesting perspective. And one of the things you realize how there is no unique solution. This area is important to many, many people, and it is just no easy solution here. So in summary, before the judging starts, traveling there, it's easy to get to. It's as far as Europe is. Most people are just intimidated. But it's an opportunity to photograph people, lots of nature and landscapes, photojournalism. You can go with groups. There are lots of groups going there. You can independently travel. That's what I did. I went over, rented a car, just drive around too. But again, photographically, unlike Europe and whatnot, it is very, very unique. So I just wanted to just pass some of that along. So that's my talk. Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. Let me turn the lights on here. Yes, any questions? Yeah.
I just got a quick question.
Yeah.
A lot of nature and landscapes, but I noticed no interiors. Restricted to going into any holy sites. There must be a lot of restrictions.
Actually, no. Like in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is very interesting. There's no restrictions at all with bring your camera or whatnot. There are people photographing all over there as well. The Church of the Nativity, all over and things too. Unlike the Vatican where they'll tell you certain areas, you can't photograph and whatnot as well. No, there was no, in any of the churches and temples there was no prohibition. I wasn't that good in low light photography and things like that as well, so that's why I didn't have any there. Well, but none. Any other questions? No? Okay, good. Then, yeah, we got another question.
You got a nice photo of that lady wearing the shawl and everything like that.
Yeah.
How do you approach it? I think you've covered this before, but you're in a foreign country.
When you're in a foreign country, what I do is people will when you're in an area where there are a lot of tourists, people are used to, unlike downtown Cleveland, let's say, they're kind of used to people with cameras. That's number one. And the universal language is, if someone's there working, you lift up a camera, they'll kind of notice you're there. And they'll usually look up, they'll smile, or they'll go back to what they're doing, and that's fine. On a rare occasion, someone will say, no, they'll hold their hand and no, in which case, you don't. You don't take the picture too. But otherwise, basically, is people are used to that, and it's kind of a universal thing. Someone will tell you when they don't want their picture taken. But other things too, and I think I did this in one of the talks, is the certain groups like the Amish or the Orthodox, just they don't want any part of you in general, and don't want their picture taken too. And I used a big telephoto, and I was behind a palm tree. There as well, that kind of thing as well. So certain things like that. But people on the street, I found it's no different here than in other places, is they're used to it, and they'll usually tell you if they don't want to. And a lot of times they'll just go back to what they're doing, which is great, because if it's a worker or something like that, you don't want them smiling at you or whatnot. You want a normal picture. So I'd say 80% of the time, people just look up, they just go back to what they're doing. And it's not a problem. So you don't really have to ask anyone as well. Yes? The safest flight? What? But, well, I don't know if it's safer than any, well, El Al is a very safe airline. But I'll tell you something. When you go there, when you think TSA is invasive and whatnot here too, is the last time I was there, you go, they'll ask you questions. They had two women that were interrogating me, and they were saying this, well, why were you in Israel? Oh, take pictures. Where were you staying? Up in Tiberias. What hotel were you at? I told them the hotel. They said, how'd you get there? I drove. What road did you take? And whatnot. So in other words, I was actually asked this, do you speak Hebrew? And I said, no. And I was talking, then all of a sudden the other one, I always remember this because this is right out of, she all of a sudden yelled an exclamation at me. And it was in Hebrew. And I didn't react because I didn't know what she was saying too. But it was kind of one of those almost like tests. It's if she said God bless you. And I said, oh, thank you, like that too. It was a line out of an old movie, The Great Escape. But so it's really it's interesting. And of course, when I'm traveling, I don't have anything to check what you want. So, but it's a very interesting system to go through. They are very, very thorough. And again, nothing like you don't feel really intimidated at all. I told you the only time people who heard my last talk, the only time I really had problems was in Morocco, in a little town, where my photographic beanbag that I used to rest my lens on. The guy takes it out of the pouch, and here's this pouch with this powdery stuff too. And I told him, no, that's just where I rest the camera in this too. And he took out his knife and cut it open like that. No, I got it, the drugs. And of course, hundreds of thousands of little plastic beads are all over the place. And he goes, okay, that's it, that too. So traveling with photographic equipment. You'll go through everything. But yeah, the biggest myth about the Holy Land is safety. And it's actually no different than anywhere else in the world that you travel. And I really emphasize that as well, because the opportunities, not only just from no matter what you're interested in, but just photographically, were just really unique as well. So I recommend it. Any other? Nope? Okay, we'll wait for our... Now again, think about that. Was it January? Whatever, you'll go back and look. I need a speaker for one of the February things too, or else I'll have to find something else there. So okay, we'll take a break as the judges come in. Okay, if everyone wants to start filing back in, we're getting the prints in here ready to go, ready to start the competition.
just real quick. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to our People Pictorial competition. We have approximately 50-some entries tonight, and the judges have been nice enough to say they will comment on all of those. Just so you know, during the photography, a couple people pictures got put into the pictorial category. We have caught that, and on our webpage, that will be updated and the pictures will be in the proper area in the people category and so on. So it should seem rather seamless. Mike knows what he has to do and the judges don't care. So with that, we had a no-show on a judge tonight. One of our members, Dan Sandy, was kind enough to sit in. He had no entries. And with that, I'm going to ask the judges to take a couple minutes and talk about themselves and introduce themselves. So judges, take it away.
All right, I'm going to tell you all about my life. He said a couple minutes, so I assume 10, 20 minutes will be okay. I'll give you a little dissertation. No worries. Now, I'm Dan Sandy. I'm the creative competition chair. I'm also 1/3 of the replacement for Bill once he retires as the competition head. I've been a photographer for most of my life. Had a couple photos of the year and all that good stuff. So I'll tell you, incredible images this evening. I'm always really impressed by you guys. Good job. So, I'll try to keep it brief.
I guess this, yeah, okay, never mind, this is working.
Okay.
I'm Doug Kerner. I was a member of CPS back in the 90s, and yeah, I don't know if in the 2000s, but anyway, I was president for a couple of years and enjoyed doing photography. I like the creative process. We could talk at a long time about what is art, but it's about creativity for me, and I enjoy using that and getting some feelings out there, and hopefully some of my stuff makes other people see what I'm seeing, or at least see something that drives some of their emotions. So that's what I like about photography, and I can't draw or paint or sculpt. So this has been a great medium for me. And saw some great pictures tonight, and enjoyed the judging so far. And I'm judging, we'll enjoy the critiquing even more. That's where you learn.
I'm Ray Hosier. My background is I've been a professional photographer since college. I'm past president of the Certified Professional Photographers of Ohio. I got my master's degree from the Professional Photographers of America. Past president of the Cleveland group, that not this group, but another one. I've been teaching and judging state and local levels, as well as national teaching. Portrait photographer is what I am and what I've been doing all my life, it seems. I've been in the chairs that you have been. It is the best way to learn. Please feel free to come up to me afterwards. We can't say everything tonight about each print, but I'm more than welcome to stay late or talk to you about your prints. That's the best way to learn. Talk to any of the judges. I'm sure that they'll do the same thing. But I've been there. I've had my prints ripped apart, so I know how you feel, but it's the way that you're going to learn and get better. So I hope we can score high on your prints, and if not, find out why we didn't. Okay?
Either way.
All right. This is a people competition, if that wasn't mentioned. So I think you did a good job. It's real nice, crisp. In a people competition, though, usually you want to have the person as the main focal point. And unfortunately, in this one, well, maybe not unfortunately, but in this one, the horse is clearly more of a focus than the guy is. That's kind of tying him up. With that said, you have great depth of field where everything in the foreground's great, background's perfectly blurred. The guy is a little bright on his face, but I think in dodging it, you would actually make him less of a subject matter, which then, once again, being a people competition, I think would go against the point. But all in all, it's a nice photo. I just don't know if it's quite right for this competition, though.
The image is called Ranch Hand by Gary Merrick, 18 points.
I love the emotion of this print. It just captures spontaneous motion. The only thing I could probably say that might make the print a little bit better, make it a horizontal and crop a little bit off that back. If they cut the girls off about the waist, and that'll bring your focal point more to the faces. And to me, that's where the image is. That is those expressions in the faces. Besides that, I enjoyed the print.
The image is called Smothered with Love by Paul Giglia, 22 points, honorable mention.
You've got an interesting subject going on here, and I like the connection that it presents with the little girl and her doll. You can see her attachment to it. And well done in the exposure between those two. The background, somebody's arm, wristband, and somebody's shoulder back there is very distracting here. If you could have waited or got a different angle, I don't know what the situation was, of course, how you could come up with eliminating some of that busyness and unnecessary elements in the background. That would improve this a lot. But I love the attachment between the subjects here.
All right. The image is called Abby by Mike Kopkas, 18 points.
I'm pretty sure somebody was at a Renaissance fair, or they were getting a boat somewhere in the South, at least according to 80s movies that I've seen. But either way, I think you have great focus, good exposure. I mean, it's really a well-done shot. I may have liked to seen it zoomed out a little bit, but just so you have a little bit more of his hand. But I think it's really well composed. I like it.
The image is called Suspicious by Bill Keaton, 21 points.
I'll tell you, the judges had a hard one with this one. At least I did too. Trying to figure out what is really going on here. I like the placement of the subject. There's some clutter there that I would have liked to seen removed. It kind of impacted me on trying to figure out what it was actually going on, which I think helps tell a story. So I gave it a little bit of a higher score because of that. But I would have liked to have seen some of the clutter cleaned out, her face maybe toned down just a little bit. But it's the impact kind of drew me in a little bit. So it was interesting.
What would you think about cropping off the mirror? Like if this was, well, you can't see it here, but if you took out the left section where the mirror is at, you'd have this V composition, I think would improve it. There's a little tension on the bottom with her left foot that
Yeah, I hate to
could
see
be
a
included as well.
I hate
but
to see a foot cut off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call it tension, where it's not quite exactly everything your mind wants to see, but
The image is called Cleveland Public Theater Dancer by Paul Giglia, 19 points.
I feel like there's a story here. I can't tell if this kid's at a detention center or a playground. Nowadays, you just really don't know.
Or both. It could be.
I hate to be cynical like that, but I truly don't know. But it's a really great shot. Great catch light in the eyes, good focus, good lighting throughout. It's a little dark in the bottom right corner, but that's not really a distraction at all. I think it's well done.
The image is called Dugout Boy by Mike Kopkas, 20 points.
There you go.
I thought this was a nice black and white portrait. I would have liked to seen it maybe zoomed out a little bit, is cropped a little tight for me. That finger is really up on the top there. And I see that to be quite a bit of a trend tonight, that some of the images just need to be breathing a little more, give it a little more space. But I like the image. It's a nice black and white image.
The image is called Nikki by Fran Marino, 23 points, third place.
I thought that had a lot of impact. Her eyes just coming into it, a lot of impact for me on that one. Nice, tight, and I guess you'd say somewhat typical of this type of a portrait of an older gentleman, lots of beard, great focus, showing those wrinkles and all the hairs in the beard. The one thing that bothered me was whatever he's got in his mouth. I'm going to assume it's a pipe, but without the rest of it showing, it threw me off just a little bit. I would have liked it a little better without, or I know that the tightness is what's driving some impact here. If you could have included the rest of the pipe, perhaps, but maybe that hurt it. You know, you start fooling around with your croppings when you're doing these prints. You got to decide, okay, what's working good and what's not. But love all the details. Lots of drama here.
Great tonality, too.
Yes.
The image is called
Good range.
Gandalf Revisited by Bill Keaton, 23 points, third place.
At first, I thought it was like hay. I thought it was like grass or hay or something. I think this image is technically really well done. Focus, exposure. It's completely solid. I was a little thrown off by the subject matter being centered and then just the void being behind her. I think if there were some more Christmassy things in the background, like it would kind of give more feel or emotion to the image. Right now, it's just kind of, although it's beautiful and warm, it's also kind of cold with the darkness behind her, and that kind of throws me off a little. But other than that, I think maybe cropping in a little bit, just to take it out of the center, just to make it a little more dynamic. Because to me, it's just a little too static. But once again, technically, I think it's really it's quite perfect.
Like you said, maybe just a little off the left, so that as the chair's tilting this way, you're getting a little bit of a looking in or out of the frame.
Or even some
Well,
kind of
she's not
flow,
looking, but-
right?
yeah.
But or just some kind of flow to like kind of take you
Right.
into the shot. It's a little disconnected.
The image is called Clara and Her Prince by Susan Bestel, 23 points, third place.
This was a print that I think
Hang on a minute, we
technically-
got to get, we're out of sync here with the images.
There should be a different Asian man first. That's not how I took the photos. Oh, so they're going. Oh, what a cluster of a night. It was back end. I did the photo.
Were they reduced in size? No?
we're all set on this, or not?
No, not yet.
Oh, sorry.
We're waiting.
We have a problem with the software we use if it only takes a certain number of megabytes of pictures, so that we have to make lower quality pictures so we can run them all. Otherwise, it loops around when it hits its maximum amount, so.
Hmm?
So yeah, you get 10 images and it like starts doing a weird loop on the projector itself. It's all part of the fun.
Computers, they make our lives a lot easier.
They make them something.
Yeah. No, they do.
Make us have more heart attacks.
You get different problems now.
That's
Cool.
an understatement. So how about that weather?
We can
All
start
right,
doing
we're ready
karaoke.
now.
What's that?
We're ready to go.
Okay, this one, I would suggest if you're entering something in for a competition, you need to have a brighter, more of a glossier type of a print. It's going to score higher. This being a matte finish, it is a little dull. Technically, it needs more of a pop to it. There is a storytelling there, which I like. But I think the print quality really brought it down for you. If it was a more of a glossier image for print competition, it would have scored higher if you did that.
The image is called The Greeting by Dale Cowan, 20 points.
I got some I think similar reaction on this one where the contrast seems to be a little bit, let's say, light in contrast. Needs a little more, needs some pop. You got a very white architectural pieces in the back that are distracting our eyes away from the subjects as well. So if there's a way to, punch up or punch down, take some of that out. But overall, I think it could be a contrast, or I don't know if the lighting itself is just going to make it almost impossible to get a great image out of this. And I know the composition, I struggled a little bit, I guess, with the composition. You get this circular half circle effect of the people in the image, but the guys on the right aren't really adding anything facially, don't see any expression. And part of the main subject is the game that they're playing, and that game board is very, let's say, washed out. So that needs to get some more detail in that. Not sure what you're going to have to fool around with in printing, but punch it up and take out some of that white and get more of the details, and maybe burn in, as we used to say in printing, burn in some of that white in the background to take that eye detraction away.
The image is called Gamers with Kibitzers by Dale Cowan, 19 points.
This is another technically good, well done image. I am a little torn on the merging of her hair with the top of the frame, but it is what it is. Just try to be a little mindful of that. Maybe zoom out a little bit. Just because it's a little abrupt and it kind of just detracts from the flow of the image. You have nice catch light. Focus looks good. Exposure is really good. I'm not sure if this was a framing problem or a print problem, but it looks like her necklace also got cut off a little bit. So just be mindful of those kind of things when you're entering shots, because those kind of things will kind of take away from the image. And then, once again, I don't know if this is a problem with the print or not, but there's a white bar at the bottom that's kind of not part of the mat. And I don't know if it's just because the mat you had was a little too big for the image, or if it shifted when it was going through the process. I'm not sure. But
Yeah, or is there image up above the top of the?
Right, I have no
mat
idea,
that
and
it-
that's what
that
I'm
it
saying,
slipped
is
up, yeah.
it's possible it got shifted,
Good
and
point.
maybe that wouldn't be a thing. So if that is the case, my apologies. Just be mindful of that kind of stuff, though.
One quick thing on the angle of this. Usually you don't want to shoot up the nose, so maybe a little higher angle might be a little bit better too.
The image is called Bedroom Eyes by Fran Marino, 20 points.
I would kind of recommend cropping off some of that bottom and take it up almost into the neck. And I don't know if maybe this is, as they say, nitpicking, but I felt that the lack of texture, perhaps, in the upper left, it gave me the impression that it was poorly photoshopped down and taken out, that it's just a line, that it needs a little more texture showing there to give me a more natural feel.
I think that was just the background. I think that was just the background. I can be right.
This print here, I would have liked to see more of this to see exactly what was going on the print. I love it. I think there's a story there. Would have liked to seen what he was looking down at or what he was doing. Technically, I think it was the good. I think I actually scored this one pretty good. But I would have loved to see the story behind this. I think there was more to it that I would have liked to have seen.
Careful what you ask for.
The image is called
Yeah.
Fish Weren't Biting by Michael Murray, 18 points.
This is WWF shirt or something.
Yeah.
I think the photographer saw a really interesting subject here. The focus, need a little more depth of field or get your focus more trained on the glasses of the eyes and bring out some of that detail. I'm not getting enough of the face coming through, perhaps in focus, to really give me a feel of what this person is made of, give me that real look. I think there's a lot to be explored and shown, with the hair and in the beard and the facial expressions and the hand. If you could burn in some of that upper left to get rid of that hot spot, perhaps, might improve it as well. But got some interesting subjects here.
The image is called Mixed Emotions by Michael Murray, 18 points.
I really like the shot. Once again, torn about the boots merging with the bottom of the shot, but other than that, I really like how dynamic the lighting is on the gentleman there. The calf looks a little muddy, and when I say muddy, like, it's kind of merging with the background a little bit. I don't know if there's enough contrast, or to me, it's just something that's not like separating it enough. Just to really make it a little stronger. Like, had there been a little light behind, or something just to differentiate between that bull and the background. But all in all, I really like the story. It's just a really nice shot. Like I said, I like that you did cut off the top. I don't like that you cut off the bottom. But that's just me being nitpicky.
The image is called New to the Herd by Gary Merrick, 19 points.
This is kind of similar to the other ballerina that we saw, sitting in the chair. I wish there was something more in the background for it. Technically, the lighting is excellent. Print is done very well. It looks as though it was like a stage lighting and everything like that. And I get it. You're doing it. What was there. I would think it would have been better to really open that up a lot more. If you're going to go with a dark background like that, send them back and allow that space to help tell a story. It might be just cropped in just a little bit too much for me, but here again, I would have liked to seen something more in the background as well, but and I know I'm telling two different things, show more darkness and then show something in it, but if you're going to go with the darkness, let the darkness be a part of that and express it.
Counselor.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not.
Embrace the darkness.
But I like the sharpness and the lighting on it.
The
I
ima-
like the darkness.
The image is called Coppelia by Susan Bestel, 21 points.
I mean, what can you really say about this? I think
It
it's
was
a.
his.
Is it good? Then I'm gonna shut the hell up. See? What can I say? Nothing.
Just a superb composition here with the lines and the angles of her arms and leg, and get this feeling of the dress flowing in the back. Really well done, and this has the background where you get a little bit of texture, so like Ray was
That's
talking about, where
Exactly.
it gives you some depth, I guess, that you know they're not as pronounced. It's not as harsh. It gives you more a softer feel. And that, I'm going to say the previous image, I don't know if that would have been better softer. I was going to say that the harshness gave it that feeling that it was more drama, where this is more beauty and motion. And I think the cropping is just about perfect. It's just so well done. I forget what I scored it, but probably should have gave it a 9 if I didn't.
This is a print that I wish I had brought up to critique. Now, I would have opened it up again. I would have shown more background. To me, she's flowing. I want to see room to flow. She's a dancer. She needs room to move. Technically, this is gorgeous. This is probably my favorite print in the show. The print quality is excellent. The lighting is excellent. I just wanted to see a little more room, a little more background and foreground and on the sides. But my love is ballerinas. It's the best thing to photograph to me. So I'm very picky on a ballerina. And this is done very well. I just want to see more room for her to dance. Be careful when you're getting your... Ballerinas have a way of posing their hands, and I'm a really big stickler on hands. You got to have them posed just right. She's got it done. Give that hand a little more room up on top, and give the foot a little bit more room on the bottom and the sides. But boy, the image, the photographer nailed it.
The image is called Drapes in Fabric by Jackie Sieski, 25 points, second place.
I think it's yours now.
Now it's
because I
yours.
jumped up. Yeah.
It's all good.
No worries. I've done that so, like every competition I judged, I always step on somebody at some point. Usually it's Nancy Balick.
Oh, is it my turn?
No.
Hang on a
they're-
minute,
They're
we're-
doing
we're-
their thing.
It's
Oh,
history.
Care
sorry.
of the pictures.
I jumped in
Everybody's
after you.
looking.
Okay, we're ready
Wait
now.
a minute. Am I supposed to do
No,
something?
just giving them time.
We're ready now, go ahead.
Yes. This is an era piece, kind of looking at war style, or World War II, right? I almost wonder what this would look like as black and white. That red would really just pop out. But as something you shot that you probably was not staged, it was more of like an event. I think this is a really nice shot. There are a few hot spots on her face, but you know it's not too bad. You could probably burn those down just a little bit, but you have to be careful because if you do it too much, it'll start looking gray and you start getting some weird tones going on. I was a little distracted by the steering wheel in the bottom right corner. But beyond that, I think her pose is nice. It offers nice flow. Once again, her hand at least is at an angle, so it's kind of bringing you into the shot a little bit. And the old school mic has nice detail to it. All in all, it's a nice shot.
I was the guy in the back on the left. I kept thinking if I could only see him a little better lit, it might really add an interesting element to this, and maybe a little different angle, so he comes out as part of the composition as well. But right now he's a little too dark, a little out of focus, so it's a distracting element, I believe. So,
The image is called USO Singer and Soldier by Dave Korosek, 18 points.
I mentioned before that I'm a stickler for hands. The hand is what killed it for me. I love the lighting on the face. I think that's really good. But when you get a hand that is claw-like, and it's just me, I knock it down a little bit. The hand was a little bit, the fingers were a little bit softer, not so right-angled. If they were just drawn out a little bit, maybe if the photographer would have just waited a split second, the hand would have moved a little bit and would have been a little bit softer. I just don't like those right angles of the fingers. But I give the photographer credit on the lighting. It's nice. Your eyes go to the eyes, but the hand just killed it for me.
now I like what's going on with the hands.
I'd say that's judging. Okay.
It gives me a feeling that, okay, she's doing something to whatever that object is. She's opening a coin purse, or maybe just exploring the textures on this decoration, a decorative rock or painted up pendant, something. Don't know what it is, but I like the idea that she's exploring it, and the eyes are going out of the frame, a nice soft look, and she's kind of doing like two things at once. She's exploring this object, but she's also watching something else that's not in the frame. I really enjoyed this. This is another one. If I didn't score it a 9, I think I should have.
The image is called Innocence by Marge Brady, 22 points, honorable mention.
Well, another beauty here. Flowing dress, just well exposed, got that a little bit of a background that you can see some depth behind it, which helps make it softer. The lighting was done and the printing was done with a softness and complements the dress and the bouquet, the flowers that she's holding. I wouldn't have guessed it's a ballet until I get down to the shoe.
Good hand pose too.
Yeah. I think the drooping hand is superb. That curve coming down and gives you that relaxed feeling and adds to the softness. We're relaxed, it's soft, it's just serene. We're enjoying what's around us here. She's enjoying what's around her. And the beauty of the dress, great textures.
The image is called Dancer in Repose by Jackie Sieski, 26 points, first place.
I like the flow of the dress. It's definitely one of those situations where someone like flipped it up real quick and ran off the shot. But I think he did it really well. It almost looks like a cloth snake or something. The crop to me is a little tight. I know we've mentioned this a few times today. I do like, once again, that you're not actually, nothing's really merging, although in this case, you might be able to crop a little of the right off and kind of remove her from the center. I don't know, that actually might center her a little more. Scratch that. Either way, I think it's technically really well done. Exposure's really nice. Focus is nice. I'll let him talk about the hands if he'd like. Just messing with you, Ray.
Actually, I was going to talk about the toes.
Oh, yeah. You can do all that, but either way, I think it's a really nice. Like I said, it's nice exposure, nice focus. Just like to see a little bit more room around the subject matter.
Just to bring out something with the toes, if you were able to, I would have covered the toes for a print competition, just to hide them. The one in the back, as well as the one in the foreground there. Just pulling the dress around would have made a bigger impact on the whole image.
Yeah, if you could get the red all the way
Flowing
across the
over
bottom.
her knee even,
Yeah.
bring it all the way out. It would have been a nicer. She's a little head-on, but
Speaking of the red, the object on the right is a lot of red, and I'm not sure what it is. So pardon?
It's just cloth. They just tossed it up and ran up.
Oh, okay.
It says caught it in motion.
Yeah, I guess I'm not getting the motion out of it. I don't know if it needs a little blurring, perhaps. It almost looks like a part of a flower, and it's so big that I think it takes away from
It could be.
the main subject, the person. That's just my reactions to it.
The image is called Mesmerizing by Serena Cernick, 21 points. And that completes the people portion, with the exception of a couple of that got misplaced into the wrong category. We'll talk about those later. That's not the right picture. Those are from a previous competition.
Oh, I give you a card that had extra photos on it.
Before we get started, can you resize those before you start?
Sorry, folks. We're pros, mostly. Okay.
Okay.
It's you.
okay, it's me. I like this photograph very, very much. The only thing I probably would have done differently would be cropping a little bit of that bottom a little bit. Make it a little bit more of a skinnier horizontal print. And that would draw my eye a little bit more into the barn because I keep on going back between the street and the barn and just eliminate some of that street. And I think it would be a bigger impact.
Yeah, I think the street like leads you out of the picture, away from the barn, to your point.
The image is called End of the Road by Bob Kowaleski, 23 points.
Interesting subject. It's tough to use somebody else's art and make it your own. I'm looking, I like the lighting and some of the contrast up at the top with around the face. Down in the lower half, I guess, there's not enough contrasting. I keep seeing there's these lines in her skirt that I want to see perhaps more accented. I don't know what the lighting could be. Again, it's really tough to take something of somebody else's art, make it your own. Do something different. I keep going to the face, bam, and there's a picture up there. The rest of it, I kind of get lost in a little bit. It blends in with all of the different elements in the bottom. If there was a lighting way to bring that out, I don't know if you could add flash or a different angle, but I love what's going on in the face.
The image is called Norma Ray by Gary Merrick, 19 points.
This is one of the ones that should have been in the people competition.
No, it's in the right spot right now.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Very interesting photo. It kind of reminds me of those people that, they'll do some human origami and they'll end up looking like a butterfly or chameleon or some crazy animal. I wouldn't be shocked if that's truly what it was. Based on the premise of this image, I'm very confused on what's going on. From a human perspective, I'm very confused because she's kind of pointing her butt at these other people, and they look kind of scared by it. So I mean, I'm just saying the image itself. I mean, it's beautifully done. Don't get me wrong. Technically, I think it's really nice, but I'm very confused about what is transpiring within this frame. I'm frightened even. But once again, beautifully done. It tells a story. I'm very curious what that story actually is. It's a nice capture.
The image is called Acrobatic Dancers by Paul Giglia, 25 points, third place.
Yeah, I thought the threes work pretty well in a lot of photographs. Sure. And that, from upper left down to the lower right, there's this composition of 1, 2, 3, and they're all a little bit lower as you go left to right. And the colors are just fantastic. I really enjoyed that photograph.
One of my favorite spots in Arizona, I believe, if I'm mistaken, Monument Valley. Beautiful area. I think the photographer did an excellent job on the sky. It's a beautiful shot. I don't know what I would change.
The image is called Sunset Monument Valley by Bill Keaton, 22 points.
Photographer really saw something interesting here. I love working with patterns, repeating images, the large going down to almost infinity through the archways. It's been done a lot. It's not the first one I've seen like this, but the tones are really nice. You know, we were talking about contrast before, but here more of a lower contrast, but yet we see some lines that help define this picture. I would recommend, in my first thought would be to cut off almost the complete left side, all the way up to, it would be the, I don't know what is in that architectural item, but almost to the arch from the left. Because I don't think that's helping it. And if that would be offset, the arches going over from the right to the left, as they are, I think would give it a much stronger composition. Maybe adding a little bit more on the right if it was available on the image to print. But I don't think the left is giving you anything. But that right, upper right to lower left infinity view is really nicely done here. The shadows, you got that angular from the upper right to the lower left, that sort of cutting the frame adds to that feel. You really found a moment here to take that shot.
See, I like the left.
I'm going to agree with you. I actually really like the fact that you left that left in and kind of offset it.
Yeah.
And you have a nice reflection of the sunset in the river, which is actually illuminating the bottom of the bridge, which I think is pretty nice as well.
The image is called Descent by Mike Kopkas, 22 points.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things, was the left side. As soon as you said cut it off, I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah. Like, no accounting for taste.
Well, no, that's the beauty of art.
Yeah.
It's all subjective, right?
Yeah.
You gotta love the parks around here. I mean, there's just never-ending beauty. This is a lovely shot, nice long exposure to get the silky falls. I did find the foreground, well, I did find it a little dark. I don't know if, I don't know what you could do to really punch it up. I think it just needs to be a little bit brighter, but in doing that, you're going to really sacrifice how bright the falls are. I think you have that very well exposed, but once again, once you start getting to the left of that bridge, it's a bit dark and it's almost competing. You kind of get that dark and light kind of, I don't know, it's fighting me. But I do like the shot. I think it's composed really well. It's just the exposure is giving me a little problem in the background a little bit.
See, now I love dark prints. I would like to see a little more on the bottom, and the darkness doesn't bother me at all.
The image is called Waterfall at Hocking Hills by Dennis Wirt, 22 points.
I'm going to say about the same thing as we did on the last one. It's very well done, but here again, I like dark prints. I would like to see this one toned down like the other one. It's very well exposed and everything. It's very well done, actually. And maybe darkening it, the foreground might even hurt it on this one, actually, as I'm looking at it more. But even if you crop out, and I see my other judges doing about the same thing,
Yeah.
even if you take out that white spot on the bottom and bring it up a little bit, because my eye hits that white spot just as much as the falls. And if you eliminate that, my eye goes to the lightest area of the photograph.
Right.
And it's the falls. That white spot on the bottom is kind of distracting to me. If you just crop that out, God, I think it would be a hell of a lot more better.
Yeah, myself as well. I know you're trying to get the motion and using the water, the foam to express that, but down here, I don't think it's helping that main subject of the falls and the motion up there, like you said, crop off. But then I start to struggle with, okay, we got this little island here. how's that gonna come out when you start cropping off the bottom? It's a tough one, but like you were saying, work with your cropping, I think.
Yeah.
The image is called Bedford Upper Falls by Rick Mills, 24 points, honorable mention.
That's your,
Mine?
yeah.
Something's going on here. What if we got a, well, who knows? I'm just, you start reacting. Okay, what's going on? We got a beauty demonstration, but you start reacting to, is it telling us a story? Is there enough information to give us that story here? I guess I could say, well, I'm not quite getting what exactly the story is. I'm sure when you were there, it made sense. There's a lot of facial expressions. I really like what's going on with the people watching. And the girls in the bottom, I know they're cute, but I'm wondering if you could get in more of the subject of cropping up from the bottom and maybe a little off the top, try to take some of that busyness away of all that stuff in the background and get to those facial expressions. I think that's where all of the interest is.
The image is called The Haircut by Dale Cowan, 20 points.
I think the exposure in this is quite perfect, actually. Your focus is actually really great in the hair and the face. Unfortunately, I'm really distracted by whatever is blocking half of his face. That really throws me off. Couple that with the kind of the top left, you have a little bit of that background showing up. Like if you're going to crop his hair so you don't see that little extra bit in the background. But once again, I think he could have had a really solid shot, but that whatever, it's a pole, vertical member, whatever it is, it's too distracting. And then where you cut is a little awkward. Like usually you wouldn't cut in the middle of an ear and in the middle of the chin like that. It kind of goes against convention. It does offer a lot of unique kind of flow that you wouldn't normally see, but once again, some of those elements are really kind of competing.
The image is called Shy by Michael Murray, 16 points. Yeah, we got to switch here.
Our buffer isn't very big, and we do not downsize the images this time.
Okay, I think we're back here.
Another beautiful exposure on the waterfalls. Here again, probably just, I would like to see, and here again, it's my own personal opinion. I like dark prints. Somebody else might like light prints. I would just tone down that top part just a little. Not much, just a little. That will bring your eye back down into the falls a little bit easier. But it's a nice print.
The image is called Bedford Lower Falls by Rick Mills, 25 points, third place.
This is really well done. Everything is very crisp. I think it works with this kind of a subject, and the lines. Again, it's been done a lot with the headlights and the taillights streaming, but it gives you that sense of motion. It doesn't leave it all static. Got a little bit of that star action going on with the street lights to add a little punch to it. Well exposed. It's getting a little hot on top of the bridge supports, but it didn't bother me that much. You look at it and say, it's a little hot, but the lighting is still overall really well done, really exposed well.
The image is called Budapest Chain Bridge by Donna Schneider, 26 points, second place.
At first, I was a little confused by this, but realized there was probably a sporting event going on and just beaming the clouds with the light. Either that or this was photoshopped. I'm not really sure. And the reason I say that is typically when you're photographing the moon, it doesn't actually look that big. It's usually a tiny little spot in the sky. I think this is a very interesting shot. There are a couple elements that are kind of fighting me a little bit, like the silos at the port there, the kind of pink thing in the bottom left corner. I think you could probably have cropped that out. It kind of serves as more of a distraction. And then in doing that, I think if you crop in a little bit on the left and maybe a little on the top, I don't know. Because you got to do two axes to crop it if you keep the same ratio, right? I think that might make it a little bit stronger. But I mean, it's a really interesting shot. I'm like I said, I'm very confused by the lighting of the clouds, and yeah, it really gives a real ethereal look.
The image is called My Hometown Cleveland by Fran Marino, 22 points.
Another beautiful shot. Love the time exposure on this one. The lighting is very well. I'm familiar with the lighthouse, Port Clinton, I believe. It's very well done. I like the moon as a second object up there, or even a third object. It's beautiful print.
The image is called Marblehead Lighthouse by Dave Korosek, 25 points, third place.
If I may, one other thing about that is, although the lighthouse is centered, it's okay, Bob. I think you offset it really well with the other things, like you said, the moon, and the other structure to the right. That is absolutely a beautiful print. It's probably my favorite of the night, or second favorite, one of those.
I'm really enjoying the composition that the photographer put together here. He probably had to move those logs, probably took him a long time to get those in position just right. But no, I love the large where the roots were, and it's leading us into the frame. And the shoreline brings us around to the building and out to the light. And the lighting is great. It's a little warm, which is good. I like the warmth. Captured those, there's two trees to the right of the building and placed those really well. I really enjoyed the almost same color between the water and the sky. Sometimes that doesn't work, but I think overall, you catch just enough reflection in the water to let you know that there's something different there. And it's just a great art piece for your wall. Beautifully done.
The image is called Headlands Lighthouse by Dave Korosek, 26 points, second place.
Beautiful shot. It was a beautiful shot.
A cute little one. I bet you're going to guess that I'm going to say it's a little centered, and you would be right. Or maybe you didn't guess that at all, but I just said it. Either way, I think it's really well exposed. Once again, it's sharp as a tack. You can see a lot of fine detail in the dress. Lovely toothy smile. But once again, I would work on the cropping a little bit, just to give a little more dynamic of a shot. Because right now, with her centered, it's just a bit static. And by either changing your angle, even like laying in the grass so she's a grand thing in your shot, or if you're dealing with the shot, obviously I should be just focusing on that. Maybe making it more of a vertical shot instead of a landscape, because I don't think the other elements are really adding much to the overall feel.
The image is called Claire's First Birthday by Susan Bestel, 19 points.
Here again is another one, and I don't know if it's possible, but I would have liked to see more of it opened up. Behind the bird's head, you got more area than on the front of the head. I would have liked to seen that reversed a little bit. Open it up a little bit, show more on the right side. Sharp as a tack. I love the coloring on it. Very, very nice in that aspect, but I would have liked to see just a little more.
The image is called Red-Tailed Hawk by Marge Brady, 23 points.
I'm really bad at flowers, trying to get a connection with them. I like the patterns and the coloring, what's going on here. The photographer caught, I think, the details that are important. It's great, really a good print. The lines around the outside of the petals accent them. It's really well exposed, really well printed. I want to start playing with how it would be cropped a little more. Like, would it be better with the center of the flower, center of the bloom on towards the bottom rather than the top? But I guess I'd have to try it and see how it reacted in my head. But that's the first thing that I see, is that it just feels a little bit like it's not upside down, but in the wrong section. But I don't know if anybody
Move it over a
disagrees
little
with
more
that.
to the thirds. If they would have opened up the upper right a little more to bring that flower down into the left third, I think it might be a little bit stronger.
The image is called Dahlia by Marge Brady, 22 points.
It's a beautiful sunset. It took me a little bit to see the egret or the heron, whatever bird that might be that looks like that. I really can't tell with that sort of detail. I love the ripples in the water. I just don't know if this post or this tree in the foreground really adds a lot to it. I almost wonder if cropping in substantially and really focusing more on, when I'm talking substantially, I'm talking from that tree that's in the foreground to the right. You keep all that and then crop out all the stuff in the foreground. So you're basically starting right at the orange in the water, and you use that, the egret and the trees in the background and the sunset, and make that the shot. I think you have a lot more solid of an image. Because otherwise, all this other stuff is kind of just distracting and taken away. It's just not adding to the overall feel. But if you focus on those few elements, they're sharp enough. There's definitely enough detail. I think you're going to have a lot more solid of a shot.
All right. The image is called Sunset at Sandy Ridge by Dennis Wirt, 22 points. And hang on, are we getting our pictures synced here?
Should be good.
All right.
Another really nice black and white of a barn. I like the detail. I like the sky. Not much I would do different. Probably would have liked to see a little more on the right side to even it out a little bit what the left is. But it's a beautiful print. Well done.
The image is called Finger Lakes Barn by Dennis Wirt, 24 points, honorable mention.
Love this driftwood stuff. a lot of artistic views from nature in these. You know, it's the tree that grew in some shape, it's the weathering that did something to it. You know, how did it get there? There's a lot in these kind of a shots that can make you think about it. Something to ponder. I think it might be a little centered. I'd like to see some of the left cut off and maybe a little to the right added. But other than that, the detail is really nice. And you got some good coloring in it. Nicely done.
The image is called A Bundle of Sticks by Vicky Wirt, 24 points, honorable mention.
That'd probably make a really great black and white as well. I mean, to be able to I guess it could have been a windy day. I was thinking to be able to capture this as it's flying by is incredibly difficult, but then thinking about it, sometimes they just hover right there with you and you don't have to do much. But either way, it's still a stellar capture. I love the turbulent skies. The detail is spot on. I mean, it's super sharp, great eye. I mean, it's a really cool shot. I like the placement. Just you give the play. I mean, I probably would have liked a little bit more on the top, but all in all, that's being nitpicky. You're given a bit of room to move into, and like I said, there's just some great flow to it.
The image is called Miss Gull by Bob Kowaleski, 24 points, honorable mention.
Is it a windy day, Bob? Yes. It's a great shot.
This was one of my favorite shots. Beautiful lighting, good composition. Boy, I don't know what to change. It's gorgeous. Very well done.
The image is called Mysterious Tower by Serena Cernik, 27 points, perfect score, first place. Serena here.
I think she left.
Yeah.
This will be available.
Who gets the award?
Serena does. Eventually.
I'm just
Well, that's too bad.
playing around. My turn?
It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the photographer got a great, capture, a great capture here to make an excellent composition. You know, with that, just leading you up from the lower right up to the upper left, and the textures in the fur, and the eyes appear to be closed, like the animal's just enjoying that sunshine, which is accenting the face in particular. Not sure if a little bit of a darkening of the background would help pop that face just a little bit more, but that would be a small improvement. Otherwise, I caught a really nice moment of the animal.
The image is called Just Breathe by Serena Cernik, 21 points.
Just want to scritch his little chin.
Yeah.
Probably be the last thing I did, but still want to do it. I really love this shot. It's very artistic. At first I thought it was snow, but then I realized it's probably like Death Valley, and that's like dried clay. But I just love it. I seriously do. The textures, the flow, those lines just take you through the shot. How those 3 or 4 pieces of clay are kind of up. I mean, it's just where it's placed, exposure, everything. I just really like the shot. Well done.
Very well done.
Yeah, colors, it's almost a patterns, but not, it's still random. I love this feel.
The image is called Stack of Cracked Mud by Vicky Wirt, 26 points, second place.
This is well done. I love the lighting. The background is deep enough, yet you still have enough to know what's back there, and the bird just pops out. It's razor sharp, very well done. I like even the placement, even though it's kind of centered. I like it. It works. The branch makes it work. Very well done.
Only one caveat would be the catchlight in the eyes, in that it doesn't really exist. But other than that, it's absolutely gorgeous.
The image is called Toko Toucan by Vicky Wirt. 25 points, third place.
Well, here's one to ponder. I did a lot of pondering on this. Didn't know if it was, well, start to try to figure out, okay, what am I looking at? But we've got all these people that we know aren't real. It was some painting or perhaps old photographs that were printed over another background or image. Or maybe this is all on one side of a building that somebody painted. But it really gets you to ponder what's going on here. But then you also get to explore the people in here, the faces, the dresses, the suits, the hats. And you're going up a side of a building, but yet you're looking across perhaps a street or an area. Maybe it's a field or who knows what's going on, but it's a lot of thinking, a lot of pondering. Very nice composition with the angles going up from the lower left up to the upper right, but yet that corner, what appears to be perhaps a building, nice and straight. Very creative.
The image is called Corner Mural by Bonnie Luxo. 20 points.
I kind of struggled with this shot a little bit for the simple fact that I wasn't sure what the subject matter was. To me, it kind of came off as more of a snapshot of just the crowd at the baseball game. And it kind of lacked that focus. Had there been some interaction with the folk, or, kind of zoomed in on fewer people, I think it would have made it a more strong shot. Like right now, it just kind of feels like a Where's Waldo, and I'm just trying to figure out where that subject matter is. I mean, now, I know that's kind of harsh, but, this is a photo competition, and you really got to bring your A game when you look over here at this wall. Something like this, you just need something to like focus on, whether or not that's someone cheering or crying or whatever it might be, but zooming in just so you have something to sink your eyes into, or your teeth, whatever you want to do. I mean, now one thing I would say is there is a nice flow line kind of going from the top right to the bottom left, but it is kind of subtle. So once again, just think about these things when you're going through photos, when you're trying to decide something, because something like this, you really need that subject matter to really make it pop and to really place in the competition as tough as these can be.
This image and the next image were actually supposed to be in the people section. So this one is Cheering for the Indians by Bonnie Luxo, 17 points. And this one also should have been in the people competition.
Here again, you got to pick your prints for the competition. Here again, it's kind of a flat looking print as far as the lighting. It needs a little bit more of a depth as far as the lighting to me. I kind of agree with the same thing with the other one. I mean, I get it with two kids eating a waffle, but I like to see a little more interaction with them. I'm not sure the the person on the one side where you just see the elbow and the leg, that kind of bothers me. Maybe the timing was not right. If you waited a little bit, he might have moved. The person in the red coat might have been moved out. For a print competition, you got to pick your prints. This print competition is really a tough print competition. You have an awful lot to go against. So you got to think about what you're doing here.
One thing I did like about it, though, sorry, is it kind of reminded me of like a 70s poster as a commercial for the Waffle Cabin. These kids are just getting sloppy with their food. But I do absolutely agree with what Ray said. You know, you do have merging with the border, the guys bending over to pick up his skis, you know, those things, you know, backing up a little bit, waiting a moment, those kind of things while you're taking the shot are things to think about because they will ultimately affect your end product. Another thing you can do, because pixels are damn cheap, is take a million shots on just keep on shooting,
Yeah.
and then eventually you're going to get a good shot. I assure you, because that's how I do most of my shots. Is just keep on throwing pixels at it, and eventually you'll get something out of that pile of garbage. I'm talking about my pile of garbage. I'm not calling this garbage by any means. So please, my
Yeah, I
apologies.
see that story with the Waffle Cabin sign and the kid on the left eating a waffle, if that could be cropped in. And of course, the people, like you guys mentioned, were out of the way. You know, you turn your
Yeah, it's good
your
for an
burst on and try to capture.
It's more of an advertising shot than a print competition shot.
Agreed.
The image is called Yummy by Bonnie Luxo, 19 points.
I think that's yours.
Mine?
Yes, sir.
Another, well, we've seen some ballet. I don't know if there was a field trip to a ballet that everybody got into. That would be great. I'd love to do that myself sometime. But you get perhaps, again, I don't know how it was done, but you get the advantage of that stage lighting. You know, somebody set that lighting up for you, so you get some really dynamic
This was
views.
This was not a stage.
This is
No?
studio
No,
with the
this is definitely
background.
studio for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That's I hear Jackie back there. It's definitely her shot. No, this is definitely not stage. Sorry.
All right. But the lighting is really well done. It captures that curve at the back, and the arms and those hands add a little bit of a curve and some motion. You know, you see the fingers, they're not straight.
Beautiful hands.
Yeah. Yep.
The
You
image
get a
is,
little bit more of that same look of her right hand on the left hand. You start to lose some of the fingers there, but overall you get that feeling that she's moving. Her hands are going from one position to another, so they're not straight. They're not just hanging down. You know, of course she's on her toes. That shows motion. Really nicely done.
the image is called Stretch on Point by Jackie Sieski, 23 points.
I like the shot. Reflection's really nice. Yeah, the feathers are a little bit bright on the bird itself, but you know what? That's okay. I don't think it's so bright that you're losing detail. The crop is a little bit tight. Maybe going with more of a vertical versus a square crop would lend itself to the subject matter, but these are all nitpicky things. All in all, I think it's a really well done shot.
The image is called Gull Mirage by Bob Kowaleski, 21 points.
And that ends the competition.
Yes,
right.
that concludes it for tonight. Just want to add a couple little things. Eric Wethington would normally be here. He's in charge of these competitions. He had a family emergency, so our thoughts are with him. I had to call some people to volunteer at the last minute, so I just want to thank the people that volunteered tonight It takes at least 7 or 8 people to run these print competitions. Those people I call at the last minute, thank you very much. You want to add anything?
Yes, thank you all very much for coming. I know we ran a bit late. We had a few little technical things, but I really thank the judges because normally we don't comment on all the prints, and I think staying a little later, but everyone getting their prints commented on is really appreciated. We learn a lot from that. So thank you, everyone. Good night.